Hello my fellow D&D adventurers, it's Ryan here from D&D Awakening, bringing you another Dungeons & Dragons Reddit story. And why not show the channel some love by just hitting that like button below. So let's buckle up for an emotional ride onto the story. The saddest character played as the happiest. A while back I created a Path of Glory half-elf Dhampir paladin that swore that he would create a tale so glorious that even the gods would sing about him. So, he ran into a group of chaotic good companions that run amok across the Dragon Coast, saving villagers, protecting the weak, running away from their child support, and sometimes skipping out on anything similar named responsibility. The party had had their past catch up to them, so they felt like they should fix and face their past head on. Cleric of Saloon, thought to have been a blasphemer, exposed the corruption in her former sect. The fighter killed a dragon that terrorised his hometown after he'd lied about killing it. The wizard thwarted an assassination attempt on his rival that recently became an archwizard. And the druid exiled from her grove halted a demonic horde that nearly destroyed her grove and would have spread like a disease on the land. But then the hints of my personal story came to bear, and no one was prepared for the bleak story behind Sir Bellamy Morwayn, the honourless kinslayer and butcher of the noble family the Morwayns. Before the end, you must hear of the beginning, the birth of the monster. Played with the idea of dying, Lord Bran Morwayn turned to the darkness that was undeath and made a pact with a vampire queen. He would sacrifice children to her in a coven of vampires in the Shadowfell. In exchange, he would gain power and wealth beyond that of his rivals. This deal then quickly changed so that he would worship the Vampire Queen and build a direct link to the Shadowfell, while also creating an army for her foothold in the material plane. He would harbour many wives and mistresses to create Dhampirs by having the Queen send her daughters to feast on the pregnant women before childbirth, killing them, except for Melina, the figurehead forced to watch these atrocities happen in a crippled and mute state, silently watching the growing nightmare that was until Bellamy was born. The cheerful Dhampir ran the halls of his father's castle, unaware of his future nor the danger that the very halls contain. He was trained by a hedge knight turned vampire in absolute loyalty to his father and their family. On his free time he would spend with his mother, reading her books out loud and spending times with a sickly woman. Years continued by, and when his 21st birthday arrived, Bellamy was called to drink with his mother and father. Given wine from his father, he was distracted and felt his glass slip from his hands. There, when he turned around, was his mother Melina handing him back his goblet. A warm smile flashed across her face and she held her free hand, seemingly expressing joy he had never seen before. Once the dinner was over, his father announced the pregnancy of his wife, marking their 16th child. A few more years went by. Bellamy was knighted and his hedge knight seemingly disappeared, leaving Bellamy hours of free time that he spent with his mother, wheeling her around the castle, into the garden, and to his surprise, the forbidden north wing. As they came through the halls, Melina was writing a letter in a chair and she instructed Bellamy to search the halls with more than just his eyes. He started to notice odd things. The air was stale. No sound breached the windows. The evening sky through the portals was darker than usual and they were going down a steady incline. As his surroundings started to come to bear, his mother finished the letter and instructed him not to read it until he was alone. As they continued along, he smelled it first. Blood. They crept forward and there he saw it in its full force. There was a pregnant elven woman hung, nailed to the wall in a blood-soaked room that would give nightmares to all those who didn't expect to see the sight. His senses started to come to him. His mother was only half-elf. His father was human. So how was all their children half-elves? How did their hair change colour? Their skin tones not match up? He was about to demand an answer from his mother, but the look of sadness pleaded him not to proceed with the thousands of questions he wanted to ask her. They had to leave the North Wing. As they escaped, Bellamy could not bring himself to ask her now and what was happening, and when he was about to, it hit him. Melina was not his mother. Things fell into line as he paced his room and his fingers found their way to open his letter. She had wrote him, and there his horror grew. The letter explained everything. The women, the children, the vampires, his siblings, his own heritage, and finally, how she spared him from a date far worse than death. Servitude. He kept reading, and his heart, if you could even call it that, froze in horror as he saw what she wanted him to do. He didn't drink the wine intended for him years ago. Instead, Melina swapped out her goblet with his own. His goblet that contained the blood of his father and the vampire queen, along with an elixir that would have made his actions their command. She saved him. At the bottom it read, "Kill everyone, my son. You can be the only one to save the legacy of my soul. Kill your brothers and sister, your concept of your father, and most importantly, me. This will stop his operation in its tracks. Please, son, I beg you." So that night, Sir Bellamy Morwayn donned his armour, sharpened his sword, and grew the resolve no man should ever do. He crept through the halls and came upon one of his brothers first. He couldn't do it. He couldn't bear to kill his own kin, but his brother awoke and moved first. In the scuffle, Bellamy accidentally plunged his sword into his brother's heart, killing him, and thus his innocence was destroyed. At his feet and his hands, the blood of his brother soaked his armour and proved that he was a monster. Over the course of 10 minutes, Bellamy had changed into a heartless murderer that killed his brother and sisters in their beds, in the privy, in the halls as they tried to escape, and cowering in the corners, pleading for him to stop. He started to burn the place with the one spell he bothered to learn, and the horror of what he was doing came to a stop as he stood over his mother. No, Melina in her bed, tears streaming from his eyes as she held out her hands to guide the sword that would slay her to her chest. But he couldn't do it. He couldn't slay the only woman that showed him compassion, that protected him from the shadows. He couldn't kill her, so he didn't. That night, leaving the burning castle was a lone corpse with two figures in it as they set forth towards their future. The party, after catching wind of a few letters that had been delivered to Bellamy in the path they were going, they chose to steal the letters and read them, confirming that Bellamy Morwayn was actually Sir Bellamy Morwayn, and the sender of letters was a woman named MM. Jealous, the druid confronted Bellamy, her fiancé at this point, about his letters to another woman, and he said they were to his mother, Melina, in Evereska. With the help of the wizard, they teleported over to Evereska to greet Melina, and were horrified to find that Bellamy is such a sweet woman for them, until they discovered that she was trying to warn Bellamy that his father had survived, along with 3 of his siblings, and the vampire queen was using the chaos in the Dragon Coast to expand the secret army once more. Being the heroes the party is, they set forth to stop this from happening. They dug into the old life that was Bellamy and was horrified of the recounting of his childhood and the news that Bellamy was a Danfir, and that he murdered his family in cold blood. They quickly saw the man that would find a reason to laugh and joke about everything was changed to be believed to be a monster. In the end, it was the druid that changed his beliefs and to stop holding on to a guilt that was not his own making. To this day, they moved to Castle Hoppendale to stop the Mad Lord Morwayn and his vampire queen allies from endangering the stability of the Dragon Coast any more than they already have, and maybe to set right the name Morwayn. So, fellow adventurers, what can I say except for such an excellent story? And if you want to show some credit to the D&D player, head over to the D&D Story in r/D&D Stories. The link in the post will be in the description below. So guys, if you enjoyed this one, why not do us a massive favour and hit both that subscribe and bell icon so you get notified every time we upload a new video. Until our next adventure, take care, and I'll see you soon.